speaking of Twitter, Bob Cooney just sent out a tweet as the Saric turns there. Bobby, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mike?
Always a pleasure. How's what are you out there in Vegas? That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hey, you can't beat it if you're sitting in the gym watching basketball all day long, and then get a bite to eat, go to bed, and get up and do it all over again. That's my kind of day, no matter where you are.
So it seems that Saric's world changes every 2 days. So I'll tell this. I watched that video, and I did not take from it that I am playing for the 76ers next year. Is there something that I'm missing? Is there something out there that's suggesting he's coming to Philly or coming to Vegas to sign a contract?
The thought, what my source said was the plan, the hope was that he would come to Vegas. We heard word of this yesterday, and I got a text this morning saying the hope was that they could get him out to Vegas to talk to him and perhaps sign him to a contract. What happened was his Croatian team advanced so far in the qualifying tournament for the Olympics. I think they won that yesterday, so the timing hasn't really worked out, and now they're not sure if it's going to play out at all. So it just all lends to the confusion of is he or isn't he? I just put it down to we're going to have to wait until when that thing's signed and they announce it, that's when we'll know. But until then, it's really just a bunch of guessing.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at this point is, there's so much around this video that said, well, I'm leaving, I'm going to go home, then I'm going to go to USA to go to Sixers. That didn't sound like to me I'm playing for Sixers. And then, is it a yes or no? Yes. I don't even know what the question was. I got nothing from him in that video saying that he was playing, but the anticipation was that he was coming to Vegas to get a deal done. Is that what you were hearing?
That's what somebody reported. The Vegas thing, I haven't gotten confirmation it was to get a deal done. You would assume that he's coming over here to do so. Why else would he come over, especially when you're flying from Turkey? Mm-hmm. So if he does get here, which I would label as 60-40, he doesn't. But should he, I would assume that he gets here to sign a deal, yeah.
All right, so Saric, possible. Now, he has until Sunday, right?
Yeah, 17th. What day is that? Sunday? My days are very mixed up. Yeah, so he has till the 17th to decide to get to make the decision to buy out the contract and sign here.
So he has to make some sort of decision. Now, if he can't get to Vegas because of all this, what's to say that does he have to sign a contract or does he just have to make a decision?
Yeah, he has to make a decision. I mean, contractually, I'm sure things can be done in this day and age. I'm sure you don't have to be right next to each other in order to get a contract done. So, they can agree on something. They'll need his signature at some point, but I'm sure he doesn't have to be, present for it all to take place. So, I have a feeling something will come about before the 17th. We'll know before then, but for now, it's just another episode in the soap opera that is Dario Saric.
This is akin to his draft mate Embiid. I mean, will he play? Won't he play? Is he ready? What's he doing? Does he get 5-on-5? Is he not? I mean, these two guys hand in hand are bizarro world.
Yeah, Embiid more so because of the impact he could have for the organization if he, proves to be everything that everybody thinks he could be. Dario Saric, of all the scouts I've talked to, a lot like him. A lot think he can be a good role player in the NBA. He's not mentioned in superstardom as the way that some people envision Embiid being, but could be a very solid contributor on this team, and he showed what kind of a good player he is this weekend when he led Croatia over Italy and got the MVP award at the game of the tournament.
So he'll be playing in the Olympics in August?
That is correct.
All right, so at least you'll get a chance to see him on actual television, it seems like, for
right.
once, right? As opposed to some grainy video.
I watched his game against Italy, and he's the kind of player that Sixers fans will really like. He's a tough guy, and they were running isolation for him at the end of the game when they needed baskets. They were running 1-4 sets, and he was getting the ball at the top of the key and just drawing fouls and digging with a shoulder and making really strong, hard layups and getting to the foul line and making really smart plays, like off of a missed free throw late in the game. His team missed a free throw, and he got a hand on the offensive rebound and secured possession so that, they could wind up winning the game. He's a tough player. He's got a nastiness to him, and I think he'll be a quick fan favorite in Philadelphia.
His new teammate, potentially, Ben Simmons, seems like he's already a fan favorite. Very small sample size. What stands out to you, Bob, who watched a lot of these summer league games? You know what the competition's like, although it seems like these games are being treated like they're, first-round playoff games almost. They're on primetime television, sellouts out there. But what's your, take on him through just a couple games?
Mike, he is an elite passer. I mean, an elite passer. And I'm not saying an elite passer for a guy 6'10". I mean, he's an elite passer. I was talking to an NBA executive who talked to somebody else who's well-respected in the league, and they compared his passing ability and like his game a little bit to Jason Kidd, who, if you remember when he came out, very good rebounder, great passer, wasn't that good of a shooter. And then, became a better shooter later on. So, people talk about him in relations to, great point guards in the NBA because his passing is just that good. I think pretty much everything that people were looking for, Sixers fans were looking for, he is as advertised. He's a terrific ball handler, sees the floor very, very well. His passing, there was a play the other night. I was sitting with someone, and there was I think it was the Lakers game. There was 7 seconds to go on the shot clock, and the Sixers didn't really do anything on the possession. The ball wound up in his hands. It was an isolation up top, and I think Larry Nance Jr. was covering him. And I turned and I said, all right, this is where he's got to score. Because it was at the time where people were like, come on, you got to shoot more. So he broke him down one-on-one, goes to the basket, and then throws a jumping bounce pass to a backdoor cutter for a layup right as the shot clock expired. And just unbelievable. And some people would have said, God, you got to shoot that ball, but they scored. And it was it was an unbelievable play that I really didn't see coming, and a great pass. He gets it. Like, he sees the floor, he sees the game. He's pretty calm off the floor too. Everything kind of just comes to him. And he's excited to play in Philadelphia. So I think Sixers fans will be really pleased.
Yeah, it seems that, if anything, the level of competition thrown out the window. Here's a guy who has been the guy for a very long time, and he's cool. He's calm. He doesn't turn to – the lack of turnovers is something that stands out to me, is that he's not trying to impress. He's not trying to do too much.
Yeah, he might have had 6 or 7 turnovers against the Lakers the one night, but you're right, Mike. It wasn't because he was trying to do too much. It was just, summer league is just sloppy basketball. You could be looking to make a pass to a guy who's wide open, though he's not going to make the shot. So then you double think it. And you have guys just running all over the place with their feet on fire because they're trying to impress people. So I haven't seen him try to overdo things. You're right on that. He got a little sloppy with the ball against the Lakers, and guys were reaching in, and that wasn't anything all that big. But you're right. For the most part, he's protected the ball well. Hasn't tried to do too much. He's a flair type of player. He likes to turn his head one way and pass the other. He'll an easy maybe chest pass turns into an underhanded shovel pass or something like that. But he's as advertised as far as the passing goes.
So they've added Gerald Henderson and Sergio Rodriguez and Jared Bayless. Where do you see them kind of fitting in? And then now that you've seen Simmons, we've heard a lot about, well, can he be a point forward, or is he going to play point guard? How do you see those newcomers fitting in?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I see Simmons, the way I see it playing out is, Brett Brown won't label him the starting point guard because Brett Brown wouldn't label a great point guard coming out of college. He wouldn't want to start him in the NBA right away either because he just thinks that's too hard of a position. So he won't label Ben Simmons as a starting point guard, although essentially that's going to be what he is. You're going to have a guy that will bring the ball up the floor. Ben Simmons will pop out, get the ball, and boom, that's where the offense will facilitate. So what you need from these other guys, the point guard who's giving the ball off to Ben Simmons needs to be some kind of a spot-up shooter, a real good cutter that can go to the basket or different things like that where Simmons can get him the ball. You're going to need some shooters surrounding him. That's where Ben Simmons is going to shine, when he's able to dribble, penetrate, kick out to a guy who can be a knockdown shooter. And right now they don't have anybody on the team really that can do that besides Robert Covington. Nick Stauskas is struggling. Luwalu's not there yet. Jared Bayless maybe. We'll see what he brings to this team this year. But they're going to need shooters, and also for the big men, they're going to need some shooters so things can open up for them. So he's going to be your facilitator on offense, and you're going to have to figure it out. And I was talking to Brett Brown the other day. They're just going to have to put them all out there together and figure it out as it goes along. And it might take a little bit of time because Embiid's, not going to be playing a whole bunch at the beginning of the season. I don't think Okafor is even going to start the season. So it's going to take a little bit to play out, but it's going to be fun to watch, I think.
Okafor's not going to start the season because of that injury?
Yeah, I don't think he's practicing fully yet. I wonder how far along he is. And where are we? We're in the middle of July. You're talking about 2 more months before they start getting ready to gear up for training camp. And if he hasn't played fully, like 5-on-5 and stuff like that, he might not be ready, for the start of the season. Nothing major, but he might not be ready to go at the start of the season. I'm guessing, but from the people I've talked to, I haven't gotten a definitive, he's on the floor playing fully. He had meniscus surgery in March, and I'm not sure he's back to full strength yet. So we'll see how that plays out.
You see Simmons is a guy who can, what level of defense? Can he go out there and, he's 6'10", he's got length, but does he have the foot speed? You think he can hang with ones?
That would be difficult.
Because of his length. Not the foot speed so much, but because can he make up for it with the length? Can he go out on the perimeter and defend?
Yeah, if they put him in a situation where he's at a pick and roll and he's coming off his guy and maybe switches out on a one, I don't think that'll kill you. I do. I think the size, you're not a great passer or a great ball handler without having really good footwork. So, defensively, he has the ability to have that also. He does a good job, and I've noticed this, when he doesn't lose focus of his guy. Like if for example, on what you just said on a pick and roll, his length, he does a good job of keeping the guy in the middle of his body. And a smaller, quicker guy, he uses his legs to get where he has to be and keep the guy in the middle of his body and doesn't reach and doesn't do stupid things, and oftentimes thwarts what offensive players where they want to go or how they want to get rid of the ball. So far, so good on the defensive end. I know Brett Brown and Lloyd Pierce, who runs the defense for the Sixers, they're very anxious to get him going defensively. But that's still to come. Right now, the most of the focus is on the offense, and if you're a Sixers fan, you have to be happy with it.
Yeah, and I mean, you see some, there's some possessions. I'm not watching every single possession of every single game. No, I am a loser. I am doing that. I'm sorry. He's out there clapping away. I mean, slapping the floor. He looks like he has a want to play some defense at times. Oh,
absolutely. I think the kid's a winner. I do. I think he wants to win. I just, I know all the stories about him at LSU, and I think something more went on there, and you and I have talked about that before. But I just think this is a kid who generally wants to get on the floor, make himself better, make his teammates better. His play, lends to that. And I think he wants to play hard. And, somebody asked a question the other day about Philly fans and they're looking forward to the excitement. And before they could even finish the question, he jumped in and said, we're bringing it. We're bringing the excitement. We're ready. We're bringing it. So he knows what the city's about. He knows how anxious they are to see, some good basketball, and he's up for the challenge. I that's impressed me as much as anything in the times that I've talked to him this week out here in Vegas.
So you mentioned Okafor, which is interesting because I just figured it was a routine that he'd be back and ready to go no matter what. He went on a little Twitter rant last night, and seems like struck a nerve with him that he not only feels that he likes it here, but that he will be here. Are you still getting the sense that the three big men, or not maybe still getting the sense, do you get a sense that the three big men will all be here?
I do. I think for the beginning of the season that they will be here. Like I said, I think the team needs shooters, no question about that moving forward, but I don't know what you're going to get right now. And maybe Brian Colangelo just does have to let it play out a little bit and and go into the season with everybody that they have and move forward. Maybe there's something there that can work. Maybe it doesn't work at all, and then things have to be moved and different pieces need to be gotten. But if I had to be a betting man, and since I'm here in Vegas, that seems to be the logical term.
We're in Atlantic City. Let's go here.
There you go. So I would say that I would bet that they are here. I think they are looking to get shooters, and those are your obvious pieces. But I don't think I don't know. I just have a feeling that it's not going to happen before the season starts.
All right. Yeah, for those out there who aren't aware, Jahlil Okafor last night, he went on a series of tweets basically trying to respond to rumors that he was upset that his name has been in the trade talks out there, and basically said, I love it here. We're going to have big things happening. Let me ask you this. You get a sense that the players that are still here, that they have a sense that this thing is like they're a different level of excitement than the last couple of years with these guys who have been around this losing? Do you sense that they are excited, like, we're ready to do something here, you guys just wait?
Oh, no question about it. Yeah, no question about it. Especially when you see Joel Embiid walking around at 7'2" and 285 pounds, and you watch Ben Simmons make the passes that he makes, and you think about the Jahlil Okafors and the Nerlens Noel, and then Dario Saric does what he did this weekend. Yeah, there's definitely a different feel around everybody. It's got to start soon, though. It's got to start soon. Something, I'm sitting here writing now. I think the offensive Nerlens Noel was progressing so well offensively when they brought in Ish Smith, and then they didn't bring him back, and it stalled his development, I felt. And they have to be sure that they can't stall Ben Simmons' development. And one of those ways is they have to get shooters, and they have to have a winning attitude. And it kind of all starts here. Like, you have to get these guys believing that this program is ready to turn around. I really do think winning is an attitude, and that, that's tough to get that attitude when you've only won 47 games over a 3-year span. So that has to be instilled in these young guys, and they have to believe it. And I think the chemistry and the karma right now surrounding the team is higher and just a little bit better than it has been.
Bob Cooney's in Vegas from the Philadelphia Daily News. The Sixers tomorrow against the Warriors. You mentioned Stauskas earlier. Are they, disappointed in him? Was he a guy they were counting on, or was he just kind of like, you know what? We got our hands on him. Let's take a flyer on this guy, maybe. Or were they really counting on him being that sharp shooter?
I think the hope was that he would be a sharp shooter and that, he would show more than he has. And, he's got to be that guy that when he's wide open, he has to, when it leaves his hand, you have to expect the ball to go in the basket. He's just not that right now. He's not hitting consistently wide open jump shots. And Ben Simmons, when he's playing his game, he's going to get guys wide open jump shots because he's a great penetrator and a really good passer. And we have inside guys like a Jahlil Okafor, or Joel Embiid, who you expect can catch the ball and get you points. Guys are going to be wide open outside. And right now, Nick Stauskas isn't that guy that you just feel is going to bang wide open three-pointers as much as he should. So he's progressed a little bit in different areas. He takes the ball to the basket better than he had when he started with the Sixers. But they need him to be that real threat of a shooter. And right now, it's just not there.
Yeah, it's been a little disappointing. How about Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot? I hope I got that right for him.
No, you did good there, Mike. I'm proud of you.
My French is just as good as my Croatian has become. What is he a guy that you think minutes? Is he a guy who's at the end of the bench? Too early to tell?
Yeah, a little bit of all of that. I think he's probably best off getting a lot of minutes to work on his game, and I don't know if that's going to be with the Sixers. It might be with the with the Delaware affiliate, with the 87ers. So, yesterday after they were done practice, I sat there and watched him shoot for 10, 15 minutes. He was just doing shooting drills. He's got a real heavy shot, meaning when he shoots the ball and it doesn't go in, it comes way off the rim. It doesn't bounce up in the air or softly come off the rim. It comes off the rim hard. And I think part of that is because he doesn't have a big arc on his shot. It's sort of line drive as he steps into it with 1 foot. So it's kind of a hard shot. I think he needs to improve on that. He's the type of guy I look at. I see some good things, but, he's like a year or two away and still a project. So I don't know if it's beneficial for him to be on the end of the bench and getting, 5, maybe 10 minutes a night in the NBA. I don't know if that's more beneficial than going down and get 35 minutes in the D-League.
No doubt. Woods raising some eyebrows. What's your take? Because we've seen him before. Is this just because it amazes me sometimes that some of these guys can go out, play in the summer league, dominate, go to the D League and put up ridiculous numbers, and then are just invisible on an NBA floor.
Well, the NBA plays defense a little bit more than summer league and the D League, so I think that's where the Christian Woods of the world find themselves. He's a good kid, plays hard, has put on some weight, which he needed to do. Told me he put on like 12 pounds or something like that, and you look at a box score and you see 16 points and maybe 8 rebounds and stuff, but he's marginal to be an NBA player. He's probably a D-League guy. Maybe he catches on for a little bit, but and the numbers hurt him here in Philadelphia. There's no question about that. When you talk about the Sixers, that's what they have. Rashawn Holmes is a guy who I think is an NBA player. I think that guy can stick in the league, for 10 years. Whether it's here in Philadelphia or not, that remains to be seen again, because the numbers for big men are just so overwhelming here in Philadelphia. Yeah. But if you're talking about, any of those guys as far as making the team, I think Christian Wood is more of a D-League guy, and Rashawn Holmes is an NBA player.
All right, Bob Cooney, we could. This team has so much intrigue around it, but I do want to get your take on Duncan. The time you've covered him now, a lot of times he doesn't play when they play against the Sixers. I mean, you don't get to see him too much when they play in Philadelphia because he sits it out. But in your time covering the NBA, just your thoughts on the Duncan's career, because I don't know if we'll ever see another guy. 19 years, one team, and what he did for such a small market team.
Yeah, and it's funny when I heard about it this morning. My first call was to Brett Brown, and I wrote a blog this morning after I talked to Brett about Timmy Duncan. He's just, that's my kind of a guy. And maybe if it's an age thing for people out there listening to think I'm old or something like that. But, when I grew up playing basketball and all, it was to keep your head down and play as hard as you can and don't draw attention to yourselves. That's what I was taught. That's what I always tried to do. And I just appreciate that so much. And, I talked to Brett this morning about Duncan. And when Brett first joined San Antonio, he was given the newly created position of Director of Player Development, and he said his first memory was that Tim Duncan got in touch with him and said, "You need to organize 5-on-5 games." This was in early August, because he was ready to play. And if Brett could only get 8 guys there, Duncan would be pissed off at him. And he remembers going to the gym and Tim Duncan being there at midnight and shooting thousands of shots, and then back at 7 in the morning by himself shooting thousands of shots. He said, he loved it every year when they got in the playoffs. Tim Duncan would have a whiteboard and get a marker and put the number 16 on there. When they won a game, he would erase it and put 15. He never said anything. He just did it. And he said that was the greatest thing about Timmy Duncan. He led by example, never said all that much. When he did say something, everyone listened. But, just a true professional, went out exactly the way that Brett envisioned him going out, quietly on his own terms and, with all the accolades following right behind him.
Good stuff. I'll leave you with the guy who has drawn some comparisons to Duncan, and that's Embiid. Have you seen him out there? I mean, I know that there's been some. He's out in Vegas, right? He's hanging out there.
Yeah. He's here with the team.
Have you seen him do any 5-on-5? There was some video of him dunking the other day, and I guess these are all just good signs.
Yeah, before they came out to Vegas, he was back in Philadelphia, and I was told he's playing some controlled 5-on-5. Now, I think that might mean they get in sets and stuff like that. He might not be going up and down the floor all the time.
What Brett told us was controlled. He described it as just controlled, meaning the time and the score. That was it. That he was playing up and down. Controlled just was a reference to what the game is up to and the time on the floor.
Oh, okay. Well, people are labeling it different ways, and there's a reason why that's being labeled different ways. Is because when the media asked to talk to Joel Embiid, there's a league rule that says players can talk. Players are obligated to talk when they are practicing 5-on-5. If they're injured, they're not obligated to talk to the media. So our thing is, we keep asking, is he playing 5-on-5? Is he playing 5-on-5? Because if he is, he's obligated to talk to us. So some people say, well, no, not real 5-on-5. It's not, up and down. So whatever it is, it is. But out here in Vegas, they're not doing a lot of 5-on-5s because the schedule is so hectic. They come out here, they try to run some sets to get these guys familiar with each other. They play every day. They shoot around on the mornings that they play. So it's such a hectic schedule. They're not tiring the guys out by playing 5-on-5. But he is playing in the drills, and he's shooting, and like the drills that they do that they allow us in to see. He's out there, and, he looks fine. He still looks the same as he's looked all the other times that we've gotten to see him on a limited basis.
Put it all on black, Bobby.
Yeah, I hear you.
Take care, pal.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Mike.